not been obedient, I wouldn't have never been able to receive that blessing. And he wouldn't have never been able to be a blessing. And so
she always got something to say. Oh, no, she didn't. Oh, yes, she did. No, she didn't. Yes, she did.
We gonna cry a little.
I can't
laugh a lot.
I like her.
Hear real shit.
She keeping it real.
In the right spot.
Come on,
Let's
y'all.
talk about
Let's
it.
talk about it.
What's going on, you guys, and welcome back to another video. I'm your girl Jamaica. Of course, if you are new here and you don't know what to do here, that's okay. You don't got a plan. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button and a notification bell, and just like that, you are family. We are connected, protected, all the above. If you have been here, you are still here. You're still rocking. You're still tuning in. You just know what's up. What's going on? Happy Monday. Is it just me or is time flying? Because I'm just trying to figure out how we got to October the 14th so quick. Like, I'm just, where did the time go? This conversation, short, sweet, and to the point. Obedience. I did a fast from social media, and it was about 7 days because I just decided to do it like right in the middle of another fast that I was doing, and it was a 7-day mark. So I just decided to remove all of my social media apps from my phone. And when I tell you, it was the most refreshing. When I tell you that I picked up my phone and the only thing that was on it was pretty much Amazon, Pinterest, which I am never really on, and my Bible app. I was so much in my word. I had so much like intimate time with God. It's important. It's so important to be obedient to God and God's word and God's message and God's choices for you. Like, if God puts something on your heart to do, if God puts something in your way, or if God has just aligned you with someone or something, best believe there's a purpose behind it. So there is purpose attached to obedience. And I say this to people all the time. If God is telling you to do something, if something is just showing up that wouldn't technically show up, follow that. Follow that. I think I made a joke on TikTok not too long ago that I was like, I wish I would have had followed my gut and not my heart, because I wouldn't be living in a 2-bedroom apartment with my kids. I'd be living in a studio apartment overlooking the lake and the beautiful downtown views. But because I didn't follow my gut, because I was not obedient to my gut, because I was listening to my heart, where God says it's your heart that is deceitful amongst all things, that is the last thing that you should follow. And had we just been obedient, speaking for myself, had I just been obedient in that, probably wouldn't have 2 kids. But not being obedient in that also brought me here to where I am in life, where I'm learning so much more. And I think that we believe that if we aren't obedient, or if something happens in our lives, that it takes us off track, and all it does is really takes us down another route. We know we're not perfect, so we're not always going to be obedient. We're not always going to follow our gut. We're not always going to follow our first thought, or our second thought, hell, maybe even our third thought. But it does not mean that God cannot still use it. But as you grow in your faith, as you grow in God, as you continue to cultivate a relationship with God, you start to understand the need for obedience. You start to understand the purpose of you being obedient and walking in something. When I was homeless, I woke up and God was like, go outside. And not like God told me to go outside, but I just woke up and did what I normally do. I got up, I got my son dressed, we had breakfast. It was like 6 o'clock in the morning. We was outside, and it was a Sunday. And then I brought my son back into the shelter, took him back outside at like 12 so that he could have lunch. And when lunch was over, we went back outside. And this man walks up to me and pretty much is like, I seen you here at 6 o'clock in the morning when I was running, doing my exercising, and God told me to come back. Moral of the story is, had he not been obedient, had I not been obedient and got up and went outside at 6 o'clock and then took my son in at 12 and then brought him back out, and had that man not been obedient to God and got up and ran in the morning, and then got up and after his run decided that he was going to go make some bags to give out to the homeless because him and his children didn't go to church, had we not been obedient, I wouldn't have never been able to receive that blessing, and he wouldn't have never been able to be a blessing. And so whatever end of the spectrum you are on with your obedience, you just want to make sure you're following it, because it's attached to a purpose. It's always attached to a purpose. And so I'm in the season where I'm just being obedient. Like, put your phone down, Jamaica. Pick up your word, whether your word is on your phone or in your actual Bible or on my tablet, because I got my Bible app everywhere. I was able to like just go to God and then wait and then allow God to speak back to me and have a space where I can hear that. Because usually when I'm on social media, or it's on my phone, I'm picking it up, I'm scrolling. I'm picking it up, I'm scrolling. I'm picking it up, I'm scrolling. You know, I'm even scrolling while I'm listening to my Bible app. It's pointless because I'm focused on what I'm scrolling through on social media and not really giving my full attention to God. And what God wants is our full attention. And so whatever fast that is, even if it's not a fast, but whatever that is you feel like you got to put down in order to give God your full attention, I highly recommend it. I highly recommend pouring into God so that he can pour into you. When I say pouring into him, I just mean pouring into him your time, because there's nothing we can truly give God, right? He's God. But giving God your time, giving God your ear, giving God your obedience, giving God everything that he just wants to see be a reflection of him is how I feel like we can pour into him. And so I just had a fast where I was like, so just in obedience. But whatever you feel like it is God is pushing you toward, be obedient. If God puts something on your heart, if God tells you something, if you're in church and you hear a sermon and your spirit connects to it, or if you feel like you're being tugged in one direction, or God is telling you to let something go, or if God is pulling you here, or you're like changing your direction, or you're starting to see a shift in your environment, like follow that. That's obedient. That's being obedient to his word. That's God like seeing, hey, do you trust me? How much do you trust me? Do you trust me enough to drop this and pick this up? Do you trust me enough to even give this up for just a short amount of time? Like, look at the God that we serve, who's like, it means a lot to me if you fast for 7 days. You don't have to fast from your whole life, even though it won't bring you any joy and satisfaction. The joy and satisfaction is in God. And I feel like even if it's a 7-day fast, a 21-day fast, a 40-day fast, whatever, it helps create a relationship with God. If it even creates a space where it gives you a moment to hear him, do that. I literally was like, okay, I don't have my social media. It was like 8 o'clock. It was night. I walked to this open space and I just got on my knees and prayed. Like, the weather happened to be perfect because it wasn't hot, it wasn't cold. And I just walked outside in the dress. Actually, it was cold. But I walked outside, got on my knees and I prayed. And it's because I was in my word. And so I remember in Luke where God says he often withdrew to lonely places to pray. And so I found myself wandering, waiting for the perfect spot that God said, this is where you pray at. This is your private space where you pray at. This is your empty space where you pray at. This is where you hear me at. And so during my fast from either one of the things I was fasting from, whether it be social media or cocktails and alcohol, I often withdrew to go pray. Like, you just found me praying, because whereas I want to be filled with a cocktail, or whereas I want to be scrolling, I can't. I'm not. So let me pray. God, keep me focused. God, keep me on your word. God, I need to hear from you. And so when you fast from something that usually has all of your control, it causes you to pray. It causes you to say, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing, but let me pray. Let me pray. What does your word say? What do you say to me? What do you say about me? And you become more one with yourself, and you become one more with God. So being obedient. Like, there's purpose in obedience. There's purpose in obedience, 100%. So if you're ever feeling like, how do I know? How can I find out? Do it fast. There's obedience in that. Because trust me, people think it's easy. Like, oh, I'm a fast. Like, listen, pick something that you're really going to have a hard time fasting from, and then just continue. Because you're either going to choose to be obedient, and you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to shift this way, God. I'm going to shift this way, God. I'm going to shift this way. Or you're going to give up and pick up whatever you was fasting from that has your control. But you'll learn so much, and you'll get so much from just being obedient to God and God's word and his love. And it's a beautiful experience. Life with God himself is a beautiful experience. But be obedient. If God tells you to do something, trust it. And let's just say you don't trust it, go to him. Check in with God. Like, for real, check in with God. Check in with him. He'll let you know. He'll tell you yes or no. Don't take my word for it, because I don't know. But God knows. Check in with God and see what he says. And if he's like, yep, this is what you do, then that's what, be obedient. Be obedient. There's blessing in obedience. There's purpose in obedience. There's love in obedience. I mean, there's hurt in obedience as well. Imagine walking away from a spouse that you love so much and that you just thought you was going to spend the rest of your life with, and God says that's not for you. Walk away from it. And you being obedient, picking up your things, even if you may second guess it, and walking away because you trust God. Like, that's hard. How many times do you want to pick up and call him back or call her back? How many times do you want to respond to a text, or a late night text, or let's meet up text? Like, obedience takes patience. Obedience takes strength. Obedience takes all that you have, to say, God, I trust you. I trust your word, not the world. I trust your word, not the world, Jesus. And so I just want to encourage anybody who's like, what's next? Obedience. How do I do it? Fast. Talk to him. Check in with God. Follow up with him. Go to places where you can pray, and then wait to hear him, you know? So I just want to say that, because somebody might need to be like, it's not just about being obedient. Like, oh, you know, just, I got to be at work at 9, I'm being obedient. Or somebody said I can't have this, I'm being obedient. It's so easy for us to be obedient to the things of this world and the people of this world. But when God says don't do this, we have a hard time being obedient. No. No, practice that. We got to practice that. So I just wanted to hop in and say that. I don't want to keep y'all long. It's Monday. It's late. I don't know where the day and the time went. May God bless you. May God continue to go before you. May God meet you exactly where you are. Some of us are not there yet. Some of us are still learning God. Some of us are still trusting. Some of us are in the process. Some of us are not there, y'all. Some of us know God, but we don't trust God. We ain't ready. And God can meet you right where you are. God's willing to meet you right where you are. So I pray that wherever you are, God is. And I pray that he covers you. And I pray that you are reminded that the blood flows through you. And if you need God to remind you of that, ask him. Say, God, remind me of your love. Say, God, show up in ways that I didn't think you could show up. And God, let me win $10 million. But no, God, show up for me. God, tell me what direction. God, light the path. God, if it's not for me, release it. God, help me remove it, because I know it needs to be laid down at your feet for me to let it go, but I cannot. These are things that we should be asking God of that he can do. He can do all things. Let me not say it like that. But I think when people say, like, oh, if God's so real, like, I can win the lottery. Like, listen, that's another video. So make sure you're following on all of the social platforms. Instagram gets all of the great behind the scenes. Like, Instagram is my baby. I say it all the time. TikTok, I'm learning. Snapchat is just like, thank y'all so much for y'all love and y'all support. I truly, truly appreciate it. It means so much to me. It goes a long, 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 long way. And it keeps me coming back. And the more I check in with God, and he's like, nope, Jamaica, that's what you're going to do. I need you to spread my word. I need you to be a reflection of my love and my light in every way that you can be on all platforms. Because God will reach you how you need to be reached. Like, some of us don't need to be just met in the church. Like, God's like, no, it's billions of people on social media, Jamaica. That's where we need to be getting the word in. So I'm just happy to be a vessel. I'm grateful that God has chosen me. I'm grateful that I've been obedient and listened to God, because it has brought me such a long way. And so I pray that you find a moment where you can be obedient to God and allow him to lead you into your next purpose and direction. Yeah, that he heals all parts of you, all the days of your life. So on that note, I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here. I'll see you guys in the next video. I love you all. Peace.